Hi everyone, I'm Rosana Jatoba, and Purpose for Innovation is the core topic of Festival Inova Clubbing em Casa. Our next guest is the head of the multinational Saint-Gobain in Latin America, and this company offers solutions for the automotive, industrial, mining and construction industry. And the company is a global reference in sustainable construction. I would like to welcome Thierry Fournier. It's a pleasure to have you with us, Thierry. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you very much for the invitation. It's a great pleasure to be here today.
Thierry, we know Saint-Gobain has been rated one of the 100 most innovative companies for several years in a row, exactly due to the tireless efforts to improve productivity and performance. But we also know that large companies tend to find it very difficult to introduce the innovation culture because the corporate culture is so ingrained that these companies do not dare to embrace new processes and services. What could you say to these companies?
Well, I would say there are three prerequisites to achieve this continuous innovation level. The first thing is that innovation is a shared task. It's not the role of the development teams. Everyone should contribute to innovation. That's the first thing. The second thing, it's important to make creativity flow, allow people the opportunity to express their ideas, to put ideas on the table, to discuss and assess the potential of every single idea. So you have to really allow people to be free when it comes to creativity. And the third one is to pay attention to the market. Our company, Saint-Gobain, was originally a company of engineers, and they would create the products and sell. So you have to go out the market. If the market buys, it's okay. But it no longer works like that. You have to be close to the clients, listen to them, understand, and then go back home and develop a solution based on their needs. So, shared task, everyone has to innovate. Second of all, allow people to be creative. And the third, listen to the market. And that's the market that
And
sets the
how about the
rules.
role of the leader? Because we know that one hurdle to innovation is inappropriate leadership. Is you that leadership maybe too hierarchical that denies autonomy to collaborators? How can you capacitate leaders in a large company?
Well, this tone has to come from the top level. So we did together, Adriana and I, the HR director for Latin America, and we started this journey 6 years ago, and it worked out fine because we set the tone, and then we embarked with all the directors, top executives, forcing them in a friendly way, of course, to do their work, which means in onboarding everyone and being agile. So this was our role, Adriana and I, in the very first meetings. And now there is no need to talk to anybody about that because it became part of our DNA for the group as a whole in Latin America.
Most innovative companies tend to be those that were digital from the start. It's not your case, you have a long trajectory of 80 years. So, how was this transformation for you? How did you adapt to the innovation culture? Was this very disruptive? Was this something that happened gradually?
Well, it was something that happened slowly but surely, step by step. The first thing that we did was to recruit a CDO, a Chief Digital Officer. I decided to recruit someone that was perpendicular, completely different from the classic profile of Saint-Gobain, someone outside the curve. He came from the digital sector and he was working for Samsung, and I brought him and I gave him a very simple role. First of all, you can indoctrinate the team talk to them about what is the digital world, how do we go about it and its potential, but also indoctrinate everyone from the operator of the line up to the general director. And he did that for the first 18 months. He visited every single factory, all the shifts of every single of our factories, and he did everything. He indoctrinated the entire team. Then he assessed how we use the current digital tools. We spent millions of dollars in CRM tools and so on, and we used 30% of the features of the current digital tools that we had. So instead of going to the moon, you have to be able to walk on Earth. So his second role, to use the resources that we had on our hands. The first thing was to teach our team to work and use social networking sites. This is an expertise. There is no way out. You have to learn how to position yourself using Instagram, LinkedIn, and so on. These are techniques that you have to be able to master and make a good use of it, and you can improve. This was his third mission. And the fourth one was to help our business to understand the customer's journey and how to interact with the digital world, identify 3 or 4 or 5 quick wins and move forward so we can keep track of this journey in the best possible way. After 3 years, there was no need for us to have a digital strategy, because the digital was part of our business. A company that tells you that I need to have a digital strategy is a company that is already dead, right? Because digital is not a strategy, it's a tool that you have to keep track, full stop. It has to be part of our day-to-day life.
In this awareness journey, Thierry said evangelism, which is a way of indoctrinating employees and collaborators. I imagine you achieved good outcomes. Is there a process or an example you would like to give us that expresses this changing culture in the company?
Yes, there are 2 main ones. The way we innovate was very American. Stage and gate type of process. You go through a gate to validate, and then you go to the next step and so on. Very sequential, very slow. And when we could deliver the product, it was too late to sell it, so it never worked. So we learned to use design thinking, which is a tool that is being here for a while, 40 years in the US. But for us, it was a huge innovation to learn how to innovate in a faster way and sooner in the value curve as well, and be in the market. After we learned how to deploy design thinking to do it faster, quicker, and closer to the market, we learned to use UX tools, user experience, UX, to design the product so the system is much easier to use, more user-friendly, gives this sense of pleasure, it's more pleasant for users. So design thinking with UX revolutionized the way we innovate.
We know that civil construction has a huge environmental impact. It's one of the activities in which it's most difficult to mitigate harm. And how is Saint-Gobain acting in this scenario via the ESG agenda?
Well, just to start off, we have many solutions in our portfolio that contribute positively to conserve natural resources and reduce CO2 emissions. The best example for us is thermal isolation. Just to give you a number, in 7 months after install the product, it can save more CO2 emissions than was necessary to produce this device. And since it is installed for 20, 30 years, you can see how positive the impact is of this kind of solution in the market. On top of that, we know that our industrial processes emit CO2, and we have a commitment from our CEO to reach CO2 neutrality by 2050. So we had the first target for 2025, and we have moved forward, and we have achieved the target for this date, and also developing packages for 2030 with action plans until we go to 2050 and be completely carbon neutral. It's a long journey, quite complex, that will mobilize all the departments of our company, start from the research and development. There are many productive processes that you have to revisit. You have to check all the labels and packaging, the way we deliver our products to the market. We have to reinvent and recheck everything. So this is the process of a company as a whole, engaging all the teams, as I said, and we are now launching this work, and we are very excited about it to give this guidance to the work, and it connects with our purpose, which is a purpose in English: make the world a better world. So a world means a better home as well. So sustainability is one of the two pillars that sustain this purpose.
We are talking about environmental impacts, but the coronavirus pandemic brought a social aspect to the spotlight, in particular in Brazil, where it revealed a huge social inequality. What can a large company such as Saint-Gobain do in order to mitigate this problem, which is shocking really in Brazil?
Well, you're completely right. It's been 10 years that we worked with diversity and inclusion here, and we focused around the world about gender diversity. This was the first pillar that we tackled. And now we are tackling in Brazil all the other pillars: geographic origin, ethnic origin, sexual preference, religious, age, culture, anything. And it's been 2 years that we moved quite fast on this topic, and 2 years ago I got quite disappointed when I visited one of our factories in the northeastern region in Brazil, and every time that I visit a factory, we stop the production, we invite everyone in a room, and I share information and I answer to their questions. And on that day, when everyone was just in front of me, I understood that we didn't have a single black person in the factory, not even a single one in Recife, and it was an emotional shock for me. And I came back to São Paulo, and I arranged a meeting with my team, and we developed a team to tackle this issue, and we have made amazing progress. But we are far away from achieving the best goal, but we're working quite hard. So the Saint-Gobain's team represents the Brazilian people, including all its components involving ethnics, race, place of origin. So we have to have a best picture of the Brazilian picture in our company.
And you were talking about the Northeast, where we have the largest number of brown and black people in Brazil, so it must have been terrible. But you said it touched your heart. And beyond social justice, we know a diverse environment, it's more prone to innovation. If companies are able to understand this, that diversity is good for profit, things will improve.
Absolutely, yes. Who are the consumers of these products? The Brazilian people, right? So if you just have some groups being represented, you miss out the vast majority of your potential understanding of the market in terms of innovation, language, culture, communication ways. It's not only about innovation, but it's about everything.
Governance. To an European audience, governance sounds familiar. You have embraced transparency a long time ago, but in a country such as Brazil, where we have problems such as corruption, how does it feel to work in this environment? How do you achieve good governance?
We are group listed in the French and American Stock Exchange, so compliance is part of our DNA. We have principles of conduct and actions that are the characteristics of who we are as employees of this group, and everyone have to follow these rules. There is no yellow card. Normally, when there is a mistake, it's a red card, right? So compliance is an essential pillar within our governance structure. And every year we reinforce even further subcomponents of this pillar so we can keep on moving forward towards the right direction. So today, the competing aspects are very important, fight against corruption, and respecting all the international standards and rules, especially about different types of embargoes. So it's the foundation, really, of our Saint-Gobain temple.
I have one last question for you before I hand it over to three other guests who also have questions for you. Looking ahead, how do you see the post-pandemic world from this perspective of innovation culture in companies?
I don't know if the pandemic will change much this aspect of innovation, but there is one fact that will remain, which is this continuous acceleration of the market. Fortunately or unfortunately, we will have to innovate even faster with a more open way, cooperating with a startup ecosystems and universities as well, co-developing solutions with third parties, with suppliers, with the clients. So this co-innovation will continue, collaboration in a faster way. We will only again speed up. This is my conviction. The pandemic doesn't change much this type of thing. There is no visible effect in that sense, but the speed will only increase.
As I just said, we have three guests from Klabin who also have questions for Thierry. André Badaró from New Products, Sérgio Luiz Canella from the Commercial Area, and Silvana Sommer from the Technology Center. How are you? It's a pleasure to have you. Please wave at me to let me know if you can hear me okay? Great. André, I'd like you to be the first. Can you ask your question to Thierry, please?
Of course. Thierry, it's a great pleasure to have you here today on this day to discuss a little bit about this work we have been doing with Saint-Gobain. So think about the organization targets of Saint-Gobain in medium and long term. How do you see the role of labeling in this or packaging in these structures? Maybe it's about sustainability, but also market innovation to add value to the end consumer. I've mentioned before about our sustainability journey. Of course, we are going to achieve carbon neutrality. It's a topic, but we have many other ones, especially the ability to recycle our products. And we have a problem to solve, which is packaging, especially paper, but there was also a layer of non-recyclable plastic layer. For obvious reasons, you have cement, and if humidity gets into you lose the product, right? So in order to conserve the product properly, you have to manage this aspect of this packaging. So we talked to Klabin, I think a few months ago, and we sat together thinking to co-develop things together. And then we put this problem on the table. So for your teams, how can you help us to solve this? So we worked together and we have developed together a product that is genius. It's amazing. It's incredible. We loved this Klabin's packaging, and And we mentioned for the Saint-Gobain worldwide. Everyone wants to know about it. Everyone wants to buy this package in Brazil. And it's not the first time that it became a tradition. We developed together with a huge size partner a solution that will solve a world problem. So thank you very much, and we have a beautiful future together. So it's very important to say here that we never asked to be exclusive, because we think that sustainability is not a commercial issue, it's a humanity issue. So for Saint-Gobain to contribute with the clubbing to solve this problem, it's great. So we never ask to be exclusive when it comes to sustainability issues.
I can see Silvana is smiling. Go ahead, Silvana. First of all, the smile is to thank for the partnership. We know how much it costed Saint-Gobain and our technology center in Klabin as a whole to develop this project. And to learn that he adores this solution is something that we are very proud of, and that adds even more value to our work. We touched the bios of packaging, but I would like to broaden the scope a bit to talk about the materials used in Saint-Gobain's products, to see what are the possibilities and in which direction Saint-Gobain is heading, bearing in mind this movement towards products from renewable sources. How does it fit Saint-Gobain's portfolio?
We are based in Brazil, the most diverse country in the world. We have all the natural resources available. So, when you mentioned recyclable packaging, it wasn't the first project that we did together. You remember, Silvana, we worked with our team to develop a substitution to the chemical resin that we used to glue the grains on the papers. And at that time, we were thinking of a solution that didn't work, but it's okay. It happens. It's part of the process. It's not always about winning or so we tried that. It didn't work out. But a positive experience that we had with this recyclable packaging is that I asked my team to design a transversal project complete on green chemistry here in Brazil, to do the complete inventory of the things we could better use for all the types of formulations. Glass, packaging, civil construction materials, and so on. And I am the lead of this project, and also a colleague from the R&D department, and he started, and I'm sure we're going to discover new things, amazing new things, and this will give us new ways to innovate, providing positive solutions to Brazil and to its consumers.
Sergio also has a question for Thierry, isn't it, Sergio?
Yes, I do have a question. Good afternoon, Thierry. It's a great pleasure to be with you here today and our colleagues from Klabin. Thank you for your time. So, I belong to the business and commercial area here at Klabin, and my question is related to market perspectives. You talk about innovation and sustainability, which are the pillars for our projects. This is a irreversible path when it comes to consumption. But what is perspective of Saint-Gobain when it comes to the civil construction sector for Brazil for this year and maybe next year? It will be very good if you could share that with us. Very good question. So let's talk about quantitative numbers. The Brazilian market will increase. We have a deficit for housing in Brazil that is huge. People in Brazil, they need houses now. And it's obvious, and it's been a while that the situation doesn't really improve. 15 years ago, we launched, the program was launched, My Life, My House, here in Brazil, and I'm positive that the Brazilian market will only increase at least twice big as the GDP. So let's talk about qualitative aspect. Civil construction in Brazil, we happen It's gonna be involve more systems, and that we're gonna use more about these different type of materials such as plaster boards, cement boards, and this is irreversible. That's the way we're gonna go. And talking about this dry type of construction, I believe that wood will penetrate slowly this civil construction sector to achieve a better balance than it is today. But it's going to take longer because we need to be more mature inside the Brazilian civil construction sector so that the wood we use is more used across the country. But again, it will happen one day.
Unfortunately, our time's up. I am sure we could prolong this conversation with Thierry. I would like to thank André, Sergio, and Silvana for their participation. Thierry, I enjoyed our conversation very much. Thank you very much. And I look forward to seeing you and our guests again soon.
Thank you very much for the opportunity, and I loved being here.
Bye, everyone. Our interviews in Festival Nova Clubbing bring inspiration and transformation. Don't miss the next one.